There's disappointing losses, and then there's what happened to the Broncos on Sunday as they fall 30-13 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Broncos Postgame Show here in studio at the Pat Bowlen Fieldhouse. I am Phil Milani alongside Todd Davis. Todd, what's that on your ring, man? You're blinding me over here.
This is just a little something they call a Super Bowl ring, you know? Just a little treasure we have from winning the Super Bowl.
A reminder of better times around here for sure, Todd. What do you think about this game? I mean, the Broncos had everything to play for today at home against a struggling Eagles team, and the final result.
Yeah, this wasn't the Broncos team that I expected to see today, especially after the dominant win against the Dallas Cowboys. They came out flat. They really never had any energy. The offense didn't play to the way that they're capable of, and the defense was a little bit lackluster. So this wasn't the team I expected to see.
A disappointing game for sure. Let's show you some of the highlights, how this thing unfolded at Empower Field at Mile High. A slow start for the Broncos. Jalen Hurts, no more for his running, but here he was right on the money, 36 yards to Devontae Smith. Todd, PS2 couldn't have been in a better spot.
Yeah, he was in great coverage. Sometimes you could be in the best position possible, and wide receivers get paid to make plays too. So this was a play that, he definitely made.
A couple of Alabama guys there can't defend the perfect pass. The Eagles up 10-zip early in this one. The Broncos did answer though. Melvin Gordon, man, he's so good around the end zone, has a nose for the end zone. His fifth rushing score of the year. The Eagles go 3 and out, and then the Broncos take advantage. Albert O here, 64 yards. It sets up a field goal here, but Todd, it looked like maybe Albert O could have scored on that play.
Yeah, I thought he was going to take it all the way to the house. That was definitely a big play for him. I'm glad to see him back in the lineup and making plays. I know he's battled through some injuries, but he's ready to come back and make a bigger splash.
Quite the athlete Albert O is. Game tied 10-10, but Philly comes back. It's Smith again playing on his birthday. Todd, guys on their birthday, there's a little extra juice, huh?
Yeah, there's just more energy. Maybe it's karma or energy, whatever you want to call it. Usually you have a great game on your birthday.
20-10 at the break, and then the defining moment here of the game late in the third quarter. After a Justin Simmons interception, the Broncos driving, looking for the equalizer. It's 4th and 1. Gordon coughs it up in the pile there, and Darius Slay, who's having a Pro Bowl type season, scoops it up, takes it 82 yards. Just what a shocking turn of events there, Todd.
For sure. This was a costly fumble. I feel like this was the play that really put the game out of reach for the Broncos. Up until this point, it was a battle. They were fighting hard. They weren't playing their best football, but they still had a chance to win. But this play really took it out of reach.
Going for it on 4th down, it seemed like they wanted that touchdown, trying to tie the game up. It's a 14-point swing, essentially.
For sure. It changed the game. It changed the momentum of the game. They were in scoring range, scoring position, ready to make a play to get back in the game, and this took it out of reach for them.
The Broncos trying to do something here, but Teddy Bridgewater, miscommunication here with Jerry Jeudy, and clearly some frustrations out there on the field. The Broncos go on to lose 30-13. For more, let's check in with our A-team, Alexis Perry and Eric Dalala.
Thanks so much, Phil. Eric, we had a chance to see the Broncos sweep the NFC East today if they could get a win over the Eagles, but instead we saw Philadelphia get the best of this Denver defense, both through the air and on the ground. What would you say was the turning point in this game?
I mean, there were all sorts of them, really. I mean, Philly goes up 10-0, you battle back. Then at the end of the first half, they have another touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. Broncos aren't able to match. They take a 10-point lead in the locker room. But the killer, of course, is the Melvin Gordon fumble that Darius Slay picks up and somehow turns into a touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater, a couple other guys had a chance to make the tackle, do not get him down. It was over after that.
After such a dominant defensive showing in Dallas last week, where did you see this Broncos team make the biggest step back this week?
I mean, a couple areas. The run game, of course, was not good enough. The Broncos allowed a season high in rushing to the Eagles, which we thought was fixed after Cleveland, right? You brought Kenny Young in, had a little bit better linebacker play. Today it wasn't good enough. And then Jalen Hurts in the first half was just completing passes at will. I think only had 2 or 3 incompletions. Those crossing routes in particular really hurt the Broncos. They got to get it figured out.
Offensively, they struggled both on 3rd down yet again and the red zone yet again. What are the biggest issues in those situations, and how do they rectify those issues?
Yeah, I mean, well, today, 1 of 11 on 3rd down, 1 of 5 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. And there were a couple times where getting a touchdown there could have changed the game. Alberto has that big catch. Instead, they settle for 3, blocked field goal later on. Obviously, the Melvin Gordon fumble. Penalties was a big reason. It wiped out one of Javonte Williams' touchdown runs. But also, I think just execution in general, everyone's got to be a little bit better. The play calling can improve. I mean, when you lose like this, it's at all levels.
The Broncos are 5-5, 500 at the bye week now, but some changes need to be made here. What's the biggest change that you want to see throughout these final 7 games?
They just need to find a way to continue to win and stack wins together. I don't know if that's a mentality thing, if that's coming in with the right focus, or what it might be, but in this league, to make the playoffs, you've got to be able to win 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row. You can't split them, and you can't follow up a win like the Cowboys game with a performance like this. So all across the board, it's got to be better.
Nice to see a win over the Chargers the week they come back. Eric, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Alexis.
Phil, let's send it back over to you.
Thank you very much, guys. Back here in studio with Todd Davis. Todd, the Broncos only put up 13 points today. Just seems like a lot of miscues out there for that side of the ball.
Yeah, they definitely weren't clicking. In my opinion, they should have stuck with the run game a little bit more. It was working. You have 2 dynamic running backs. They were running the ball well. You got to continue to feed them. But it's tough when you have so many dynamic playmakers on your team. You have 3 wide receivers that could carry the load of, 10 to 15 targets a game each, as well as 2 great running backs that could carry the load of 20 carries a game each. And then you add in your 2 tight ends who are both very, very, very good as well. It's tough when you have that many playmakers because you only have 1 football.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, like a guy like Cortland Sutton, we know what he's capable of, but Sutton today just targeted 3 times, only 2 catches in the game. Doesn't really have the impact that you expect from a guy like Sutton.
Yeah, and it's tough to have that impact with only 3 targets. And when people are playing good defense, out of 3 targets, you may only have 1 or 2 catches. So they have to do more to try and get more guys involved, maybe create more plays that are for Cortland Sutton specifically. I like the deep shot. It was later towards the end of the game, but you take those early and often. He's either going to make a play or it's going to be a PI. I think we need to make more plays like that.
An uncharacteristic day from Teddy, too. 22 of 36. Usually his completion percentage much higher, only 227 yards. And, there's only 1 football to go around, but it seems like Broncos not quite enough plays here today to be made against the Eagles. Let's hear from Bridgewater after the game.
Not a way you want to go into the bye week. Tough loss today. Just got to try to find a way to play better at home and figure out what it takes to get the energy going at home. Hats off to Philly. They did some great things in this game. We had opportunities. We came up short, and Philly came up to win.
Bridgewater clearly upset with the loss here. Let's talk about the other side of the ball, Todd. Jalen Hurts. We heard Vic Fangio this week say that he could be the Eagles' long-term franchise quarterback, and today on the field we saw why.
Yeah, he definitely looked really well. He's known for his legs and his athleticism, and he was able to use that to extend drives and create plays for them, as well as he threw the ball pretty well today. That really surprised me how well he was able to get the ball downfield.
178 yards passing, 53 yards running. Todd, why do you think this Broncos team struggles with these mobile quarterbacks?
Well, it's always tough against mobile quarterbacks when you play man. Everybody's so focused on their man. Everybody's back is to the quarterback. So when he decides to take off a run, it's going to take, 10 or 15 yards before everybody realizes what's going on. So by that time, he's already gotten the first down and he's able to extend the drive. So it's always tough playing man against mobile quarterbacks.
And then when it's short yardage situations, when he could either decide to keep it or hand it off, it really freezes the pass rush out there too. And Broncos, we saw this against Lamar Jackson struggle, and then today against Jalen Hurts. The Eagles overall, we knew were a good running football team. 214 yards today on the ground.
Yeah, they were able to round and pound their way down the field. And what was the worst part is in the fourth quarter when the Broncos really needed to stop to try and stay in the game. The Eagles were able to stay on the field, extend drives, and really run it towards the end of the game.
Let's go out to Empower Field at Mile High one more time here. Check in with Sidney Jones.
Outside the Broncos locker room here with Justin Simmons. Justin, obviously not the outcome you guys had hoped for today, but overall, what's your evaluation of the defense's performance today?
Yeah, I didn't think we played nearly good enough. I know the week prior, a lot of the guys, got up to the podium or got to talk to the media. We talked about a standard, and that's the way, anything less than that is unacceptable. And that was really the outcome of today. No matter how you try and spin it, it was just unacceptable, from a defensive standpoint. And it starts with your leaders, we got to find ways to close out better, to get off the field a little bit more, maybe even have a few more takeaways to set up a short field for our offense. And so I guess the best way I could sum it up is that, it wasn't the standard, it was unacceptable.
Well, despite the defensive performance, you had your 20th career interception. What did that milestone mean to you?
Yeah, honestly, when it happened, I had knew prior, but then when the pick happened, I didn't even think about it really. I just thought all right, it's 20-13. We just got a big time interception and, set our offense up on, midfield, somewhat, short field, and we'll be able to go tie this thing up and, it's a different ball game. So I didn't really have time to reflect, I guess, while I was on the field, but reflecting now and a little bit afterwards, it's a tremendous milestone that I'm thankful for, but I think I'd enjoy it a little bit better if we got the win.
Right. You guys are 5-5 now heading into the bye week. You have 7 games remaining, 5 of those against divisional opponents. What's the mindset heading into the rest of the season now?
Yeah, I think the bye week's coming at a great time. Guys are banged up. We're gonna get some guys back that were injured, and I think the bye week's coming at a good time. So, a lot of the message, around the building, I know what I told the DBs. Hey man, take this time to self-reflect. Right, halfway point, you need to self-reflect. Look at some things that you could do better on, closing out these last 7 games, and get away from ball a little bit. Let your mind kind of resettle, refocus, because when we come back for these 7 games, we need to be all in, and we can't say, this was unacceptable performance, and we got another, we got the next week to kind of figure it out, because it's starting to close down on the time that we have in this season. And so when guys come back from the break, we need to be locked in, ready to go.
Well, appreciate your time always, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Todd, the Broncos had everything in the world to play for here. Coming off that Cowboys win, they were feeling, pumped up about that. And with a win over the Eagles, they could have been tied for the top spot in the AFC West, but they did not come out playing that way.
No, definitely not. I feel like they came out very, very slow and lethargic. I felt like this was a game where they could really show and prove to the entire NFL that they're not just good against bad teams. They can beat some pretty good teams out there. But I think it all starts by how we start the game. When we continue to score second or let the other team score first, we usually lose a lot of those games. I think our offense can be good, but they have to play with the lead. When they're playing from behind, they usually don't play their best football. So I think from, the game's moving on, we have to strike first. That's how we play well. That's when we play our best, is when we strike first.
But wouldn't you have thought, just coming off that Cowboys win, they would have had a lot of energy. But now, all these games count the same, so a win over the Cowboys doesn't mean anything if you lose to the Eagles like they did.
For sure. And I feel like it makes you wonder, what kind of team is this Broncos team? Is it the team that you saw against the Cowboys? Is it the team that you saw today? We're not really sure. There's so many variables out there, and we're still waiting to see who this Bronco team really is.
Yeah, it's a puzzle. They start 3-0, then they lose 4 in a row, win 2, and lose this one here before the bye. Just a disappointing game out there from the Broncos today. Let's go back out to Empower Field at Mile High, check in with Matt Boyer.
Outside the Broncos locker room with Draymond Jones. Draymond, you get the strip sack, the team 5 tackles for a loss, but I know the result isn't what you guys wanted. Where do you think the Eagles were executing at their best against the defense today?
I mean, to be real, it's hard to point out one thing. They beat us in all aspects. Maybe not special teams. Now they got a block field goal, so they won. I mean, hindsight. We just lost in every aspect of it. From playing to coaching, just lost.
They rushed for over 200 yards on the ground. Do you feel like that's kind of where the focal point of the frustration for the defense today?
That's the biggest issue, because we knew that, the quarterback they had, that was going to be their game plan, was to run the ball a lot. Early on, they're trying to make him a quarterback, and now they have that running back and quarterback aspect of him, and they took advantage of it. Props to them. They did a good job.
5-5 going into the bye now. What's the message inside the locker room, and what's the mentality here going into the bye at 5-5 with 7 games left?
5-5, and we realized we barely played any division games. We played 1, and so we had a lot of football ahead of us, and this really can change and build us up for the potential chance of going to the playoffs. I mean, We can do it. We just got to have games like Dallas, not games like this.
Draymond, appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time now to wrap up the post-game show. Todd, the Broncos sit at 5-5 now, 500 heading into the bye week. They're going to have a long time to think about this loss. What do we know about this football team right now?
Well, we know that there's a lot of things that we can work on to get better, but there's also a lot of hope out there. Broncos country, don't be nervous. We're at 5-5 going into the bye. We'll get Bradley Chubb back, who's a
Garrett Bowles.
Two big parts of this team. So there's a lot of hope still in the second half of this season. We have a lot of big games against conference opponents that if we win, you can still make the playoffs. You still can make a big push towards the end of the year. So don't lose out all hope yet.
Yeah, sitting at 5-5, you always feel like you're right there in the mix, definitely. Especially like you mentioned, Todd, 5 out of the last 7 games of the season against the AFC West.
Yeah, they're going to be tough games, but they're games that are winnable. All those teams are fighting neck and neck within the AFC West to really make a name for themselves. So if we can go out and get some tough wins on the road, we'll be just fine.
The first up after the bye, facing the Chargers at home. Tyler, one last thing for you here. Why do you think this Broncos team can't really get it done at home? They've not played their best football games at home, which is weird for the Broncos.
For sure. We usually are great at home. Whether it's the thin air that teams have to deal with or that amazing crowd that we get to play in front of. I'm not sure. I feel like we're still trying to figure out the identity of the team. And when you don't have a concrete identity, you're going to have ups and downs at times when you really shouldn't. So once they can figure out who they are as a team and play like that week in and week out, I think they'll be better at home.
All right, well, the Broncos 30-13, a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles today. We got to say goodbye because that thing's blinding me, Todd. It's beautiful. It's the size of a golf ball.
For sure. We need to bring another one here to the city of Denver.
Exactly. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Todd Davis, I'm Phil Milani. This has been the Broncos Postgame Show.